Okay, we're going to learn Ibaylahu. This is lesson 8. And just to recap what we were discussing before, we'll go over in a chart form. There was a machlekes Rav and Zeiri concerning what the fine as in a knas, what the fine was on someone that throws his straw in the street. Straw is kasher tevin. We'll write that over there. And the chart here is 3 boxes. It really should be 4, but there is no this box over here and over here. It doesn't exist. So three boxes for each section here. And this column, the column on the right, is the column of kash in tevin. And if it's filled in, that means that anyone is allowed to take it from the street. That was the fine that was put on people. So we see that according to Zeiri, you're only allowed to take the top box, which is only the improvement, but not the bottom box, which is the guf. This column on the left, which is only 1 box, is concerning the manure that's put into the street. Now, the manure does not improve, so I took that box out. But according to Rav, the Gemara asked the question that if there was a fine by straw, that anyone was allowed to take it, even on the base, so why was there no fine applied to the guf? There was a fine on the guf. Why was there no fine on the galal, which also has guf? And we asked this question 3 times in the previous Gemara in lesson 7, just to prove that there was no fine on guf. And each time we tried to answer, well, actually, there is a fine on guf, on galal. Maybe there is a fine on galal. And then finally we said that Rav Nachman came along and said, there's no fine on galal. You're not allowed to take it. It belongs to the original owner. And the reason is, since there's no improvement, we never made a fine on the guf. So the way it would work is that if there would be an improvement, if this box would exist, then we can extend it. We can extend it to the next one. But if there is no box there, if there's no improvement, then we never made a fine over on the guf. So here there was an improvement, so we made the fine. And the logic that we gave for it is that it would be more probable that someone would put it out there if it would improve. If it doesn't improve anyway, why should he put it there? So they didn't make a fine. Okay. Let's go to the Gemara. I just want to point out that the question the Gemara is going to ask is all on this box right here. This is the guf on straw. Let's change the colors so we'll get a better... let's make this box over here. Color in this box. So if we look at this again, you see what we're talking about. According to Rav, the box that has the straw, which there is a fine on it, and you're actually allowed to take the guf as well. So let's go up to the Gemara and we'll take a look at this. It says, Ibaylahu. They asked the question. The root is ba'i, which means a question. Q. And lahu is to them, which means the Bnei Yeshiva. Okay. L'divrei ha'omer, according to the one that says, to the words of the one that says, which is, we'll put in parentheses, Rav. According to Rav, Kansu gufan mishum shvacham, according to the one that says that there's a fine on the body, on the base, because of the improvement, which is this right here. There's a fine on the base because there's a fine on the improvement, as opposed to Zeiri, who did not find that. Ignore that banging in the background. So, according to that, la'alter kansinan, was the fine immediately? Alter means immediate. Don't confuse that with the Yiddish alter, which means old. This is the Aramaic alter immediately. La'alter kansinan, oy lechimaisi shvacha kansinan. Was the fine imposed immediately? Or only when, maisi means comes, or brings, or only when the improvement comes did they make that fine. So when we're looking at this box right here, is anyone allowed to take it immediately, or do we have to wait for it to improve? And then once it's improved, then we put a fine on both. Okay. That's the question. Are you allowed to take it immediately, or only after it's began to improve? So if someone would just put it out in the street, immediately someone walks by, can he just pick it up? Or do we say that, 1 second, only if it sits there and it improves, and then we don't want the person to actually gain from putting this damages into the street, so then we would put a fine that anyone can take it. But before anything happened, would you be allowed to take it immediately? That's the yeshiva had this question. So Tashma. Gemara says, come in here, I'll bring you a proof. Midaka Irinan Golol. It says Midaka Irinan is a compound word. Irinan means we asked. And Midaka Irinan means since we asked. Golol, since we asked on Golol. So that would be a proof. If you look at the chart, it would be a little bit easier. We asked over here, what about Golol? Are you allowed to take, why are you not allowed to take Golol according to Rav? That was our question. According to Rav, there's a fine on the guf, which that would be this box, this row here is the guf, and this column here is the Golol. So why are you not allowed to take this? Now, Golol never improves. So obviously that would show that there was some sort of havamina, initial thought, that you don't have to wait for the improvements. Because if you would have to wait for the improvements, then you would wait forever and you would never be allowed to take it. So from the fact that we had a question here, obviously you're allowed to take the kash v'teven immediately, and you don't have to wait for improvements. Or else we never would have asked here, are you allowed to take why are you not allowed to take the golol? Because if you would have to wait for improvements, then you wouldn't be allowed to take this. So obviously here also you don't have to wait for improvements and you can take it immediately. So in other words, the question that we asked here, that question mark, which was the previous Gemara, which we asked 3 times on Rav, why are you not allowed to take golol? That question would be an answer here. And tell me that you're allowed to take kash v'teven immediately. Okay, so the Gemara doesn't spell this out. It only says 3 words. Tashema midaka irinan golol. Since we asked from golol, that would be a proof that you're allowed to take it immediately. That's the whole answer. It's those 2 words is the answer, that you're allowed to take it immediately. The Gemara is not finished, but that's what it wants to say from this. Okay, so it references the answer, and it doesn't spell it out. Now the Gemara says, V'tizbara, do you really think so? This is always like a question, question exclamation mark. Like, how can you think so? How can you think that the answer of the Gemara, the answer to this question, are you allowed to take this box immediately, is going to be because we asked the question here? The Gemara says, 1 second. Ki irinan golol. When did we ask from golol? Mikami delashani Rav Nachman. That was before Rav Nachman gave an answer. Obviously, you can only ask the question before you have the answer. But that's what the Gemara is saying. That you can't bring a proof from a question. We've already answered that question. We've disproven the whole thing. Lebasar, after Deshani Rav Nachman, that Rav Nachman answered, Mi ikal mirma gola klal. Can you even ask that question? Okay, so the Gemara now says you can't bring a proof from this question here that you're allowed to take kash v'teven before it improves, because Rav Nachman already answered that you can't take this, and we have no question anymore because we have already given the answer. So I guess what the Gemara means is that sometimes you can have a question and an answer, and sometimes you can have an answer that makes it that there's no more question. The question was only because you didn't know, but now we know there's no question. So here also, we have no clue after the Gemara's answer. Do you have to wait for the improvement? Over here, you're not allowed to take it at all. Over here, you are allowed to take it. This is Rav Nachman's answer. Over here, you're allowed to take it. So are you allowed to take it immediately, or do you have to wait for an improvement? Over here, you can't take it because there's no improvement. So now, here's our question. Immediately? Or do you have to wait till it begins to improve? That is lesson 8.